Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Cryptofy TIS Hitters. My name's Kurt Conley. I'm here with Mr. Nissen. How are you today, Rev?
Yeah, doing really good. Had some time off yesterday and enjoyed some time to family, but yeah, doing really, really good at the moment and back into it. We missed last his hitters, unfortunately,
We did.
because there was really nothing to be looking at when we wanted to wait for Bitcoin and see what it was doing, and for TIS to actually give us some responses. But how are you, Kurt? How you doing?
Doing really good. Awesome day ahead of me. I've got a lot going on with the new platform rollout. But anyway, as we always do with TIS Hitters, for everyone that doesn't know, we do this Monday and Friday typically, unless something else is going on. And we use all the tools that we have here in the Cryptofy community and platform, CryptoStat, TIS, our trading indicator software. So if you're watching this for the first time, welcome. If you're not a current member of our community, please head on over and check it out, and you'll be sure to see some interesting stuff. But as always, before we hit off TIS Hitters, we do the disclaimer. This content that's covered in our channels, Discord, Facebook, Twitter, is not to be considered investment advice. We are not financial advisors. This is only our opinions and our speculation of what is happening in the market. So if you want to read a little bit more, go into it. But as always, we're going to jump straight into the TIS hits for this week. The weekly hits, for people that haven't seen this before, is something that we do. So we go over the trades that we talked about in the previous video. So this is 17. TIS is 17. Can't believe that I'm even saying that. It's moving so quickly. So in TIS 16 or 15, we would have talked about some particular trades. We will talk about the entries, the current set value, and the changes. But this week, there was nothing last week, so there is nothing to cover. But keep an eye out for next week's, because we'll talk about the trades that we talk about today.
For
So
sure.
this week's trades, we have a couple of good oldies, been around for a while. They're making a comeback.
Yeah,
Uh,
making
they
some
know what's on.
waves.
It's way right. They know what's on the horizon. So for the 21st of December 2020, Waves is the first trade that we're talking about. It's currently ranked 44 on the CMC market cap. Current dollar value is $7.20, sitting at that 30,000 sat range. Now, the trade setup for this is it's on the 4 hourly. It has retraced to the 61 fib. It's now using the last resistance as support, and there is a potential for it to fall to that 28,000 sat range, but the 30,000 does still look like a good entry, but it could still tap down to that 27, 28. So definitely keep an eyes on Waves. Current BTC trading volume is 102 BTC value, and there has been 4 TIS notifications that have come through on the short-term buy. Now, just to always reiterate, when the trades come through on the notification, it does not mean an immediate buy. The forward notifications is sort of indicating like a dollar cost average in here, or come have a look at me. There's something going on over here. I'm a potential trade. So always keep that in mind when you're looking at these potential trades. The current rating for this is a 7 out of 10, just based on the information we're covering here. So, Rev, I'll get you to pull up the charts and let's dive into some TA and show the team what we've got going on here.
Yeah, for sure. So this is what we got on Waves here on CryptoStat. So I was just looking at the price to volume correlation just while you were mentioning all the data that we had on it. You could see the volume really did fall off there in the last 24 hours, and the price did take a little hit. So maybe it is just chilling out, and maybe it might go to that 27, 28,000 sort of range that we're looking for, sat value wise. So let's bring up the chart really quickly and have a look at what we got here. So on the, I think it was a 4 hourly that we were mainly focusing on, just so we can get a bigger picture of what's happening and you guys can see that. So we had a slight push up here and a slight push back down to where it pretty much started, a little bit higher than a little bit higher than there. And then it took off, consolidated all the way down. And this is throughout the year, right? September, November. And now it looks like it's gone for again. And that was a 61 fib retracement as well. Consolidated and then broke out again. And then once again, this is a 61 fib starting from about here, although you could probably catch it here, and it's pretty close as well. But what we're looking for is to utilize the support as the resistance as support now. So we look back to this sort of range here where we had a few clusters of resistance, and then it finally decided to break it, come back under, and then push right out, and then fall back. And it didn't even really fall back to that last one; it fell back to this one. So currently, it's just been free falling because of BTC, and that's majority of alts. But it seems as though Bitcoin doesn't know what it wants to do. All right, and it's just kind of like I'm going to sit in this range, and for us to see Bitcoin make 5% moves now, which is $1,000 moves in a day, is going to be normal at this sort of price range. And we spoke about this last time as well, Kurt. 10% moves. It's going to be a bit 10% move is normal at the end of the day on a daily thing. It's a daily swing for Bitcoin, and we're talking about $2,000 moves total. Going forward, and it can happen, and it's not really like crazy. It's funny. We mentioned that though. I saw an article, massive crash for Bitcoin from 23,200 to 22,800. It was like the end of the world in horrible crash. They called it like $500 drop. This was just a few days ago, and I couldn't help but laugh out loud because it's who writes this stuff, and
Yeah.
and how do you not know that this
Yeah.
that's
I mean,
normal?
we've talked about it many times before that, we also will get to the days where $5,000 moves become the norm, $10,000 moves become the norm. No, it's not going to happen right now. But back in 2017, if you got $1,000 day, people remember those days clearly. I mean,
Yeah,
but how many times we had it just in 2020 alone, right?
yeah.
$1,000 days, $1,500 days, $2,000 days. So this is going to become the norm.
Yep, exactly. We've had up to 3,000, I think, almost moves in 2020. So that's what we're looking for. We're utilizing this as a resistance turn support range here. But that's using the wicks. If you use the bodies, I think it did range between the 27. Yeah, there it is. So 27 to 28,000 sort of range would be a nice pickup. Even here would be a nice pickup if you're not that sort of trader willing to wait for it and you just wanted to really get some. But yeah, it looks pretty good from our perspective. Even on the daily. Similar thing as well. There's not really much to knock it on, and you can see on a daily there. Look at that. We didn't even look at that before, but the 100-day MA sits right on the 28. So that could possibly be it. So that's just confirming once again another thing for us to look for, to be targeting that range. So for me, yeah, for TIS pings as well, it looks pretty good, and for us to give it a rating of I think it was 7,
Yep.
is pretty cool for me. Yeah, I'm happy with that. So that's pretty much all there is on Waves right now. Keep an eye on its movements, on its price action. I'd probably be watching the hourly or the 4 hourly to get a better understanding. And even on the hourly, look for it to sort of jump back at that the 100-day MA and then push from there. Although in saying that, I mean, there's always it's always going to be a risk when trading, so we could have a fall further down and maybe go to that 25 sort of range and try and find some sort of support and consolidation there. But yeah, it does look good for us from this perspective.
Sure. All right. So the next trade is something that we actually talked about in the earlier days in TIS hitters, and that is XMR. So ranking 16, current dollar price is $153, sitting around that 639 sat range. What I find so interesting with XMR is once again it's at this bottom, and this bottom range has never been broken. I
No.
find that such an odd thing to say, but if when we pull up the TA, you will see daily, weekly. It doesn't matter what chart you put up. It goes to this. It goes to this. It goes to this bottom,
It
and it
does.
has it. It has a real good history of bouncing off this support.
It really, really does. Yeah. So I'm going to bring that up in a second right now and show you guys what we have here. So 435 BTC, two TIS pings on short term. Last sale was at 727,000 Satoshis, and I think we ranked this 8 out of 10. Good.
Yeah. So just while you pull that chart up, Rev, I just wanted to reiterate. I always say this: the sells notifications that come through are just as significant as the buy. So if you'd had XMR and the sells were coming through, there was two notifications that are in that 727 sat range, and now we're at 639. So you could have exited there, and now you could be sitting pretty and looking for a good entry here. So Rev, I'm really interested in you bringing this chart up and just showing how this thing just never breaks down past this.
Yeah, for sure. And another thing in the last 24 hours to keep your eyes on is the volume is trying to touch the price as well. So kind of just showcasing again that this bottom has been so strong. It's probably one of the strongest bottoms that I've
Yeah,
seen in a while as well. Because it's
quite a
just
statement. One of the strongest bottoms you've ever seen, Rev.
but yes, no, it does look like it is trying to push. You can see it gapped itself here from the price and then started to creep up, and the price sort of touched here, and then we're going for another touch. And if volume, crosses on top, we could possibly be seeing a price movement and pretty aggressive price action. Let's bring up this. Let's look at this chart, and we'll show you guys what we mean by this bottom. It's just, yeah. Since I can't believe you've said bottom so many times in this in this T-City series. But let's let's just zoom out for a second, right? This is XMR on that line. You can see that red dotted line. I don't know how clear it is, but you know, we've hit it, we've hit it, we've hit it, we've hit it again. This is on a 4-hourly, right? Hit it multiple times in here and hit it again now. So yeah, I mean, and even
And
if you look at,
look at the bounces. Look at the bounces off that line.
yeah,
They're
see,
healthy.
yeah, there's a 25%, there's a 50%, there's a 30%, 35, there's 100%, and there's another, yeah, 30, 35% move there. So you could at least expect, you know, when you roll the dice, right? We talk about, you know, probabilities and stuff like that. And I'll be walking through a few of this stuff on the trading course that we're rolling out soon as well on TA. It's probability and how to manage your risk. And this is just like you're rolling a dice because you've seen the past history and what it does at this point. You're in for at least a 25 to 50% move, and the probabilities are quite high in your favor.
Yeah.
So,
I like
if you
those
run,
odds.
yeah, if you run with a tight SL and you're only using 1-2% of your total account and you're running a high leverage, your tight SL is your leverage, is your liquidation, really, because you're only using a small amount, and it could be potentially a really good trade. But more on that later on. But for now, we're just using a spot trade type instance here because we are using XMR versus the BTC pair rather than XMR versus dollar pair, where it has three different structures that will affect its price, its current price, and its supply and demand, and where the price action is going, the dollar value of just dollar fiat and Bitcoin as well, moving up and down. So yeah, I wouldn't really recommend trading it based on that, leverage trading it anyway. But here it looks pretty good for a run up. The odds are in your favor for sure.
Definitely.
Another thing to keep your eyes on is this MACD. You can see here the MACD on the 4-hourly. Every time it has tried to push up, it's gone for it. You know, this one struggled here. This one struggled very similarly. So we might have a little move there, but yeah, every time it's struggled in that range and sort of turned over, it's gone back up. So it's looking pretty powerful from my end, and you can see most of them where that cursor, where the dotted lines are. You can't see the end ones though here. I'm going to try and show you guys as much as I can. Let me just line that up there. You can see there it is. So you've got all those that hit the same spot, and this one here is also in the same range. Now that you guys can see that, but you can't see the other because of my head being in the way. But yeah, I believe we gave this a really high ranking. I think it was an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I like XMR for this trade. So that is the two. That is the two tier sitters for this week. Good luck. See how you go with them.
Yeah, for sure.
We've got a little bit of time here because we didn't do much of the framing up at the beginning with the last weekly hits. Rev and I want to take a little stroll down memory lane. Okay, so for a few of the people that have followed us for years, remember when we talked about Anshares. We found this particular trade. It was an interesting time in the crypto space actually, and the Anshares can then convert it to Neo. Neo got out there, and then we've seen some wild stuff. I mean, I remember sitting in Vegas with Rev at the office, well, it's the house at the time, and we've seen 80,000 BTC volume in a 24-hour period, and it was just completely face melting. The whole space was watching Neo at this particular time. But there's the why we're looking at Neo and talking about Neo. Let's jump into the next chart and let's just summarize here because it leads on to something else that we're looking at the moment. Sure. So these are some snapshots, and I'll let Rev go over them. These are just some snapshots on the Neo BTC pair, and we want to go over these particular charts and then sort of explain and discuss what we are looking at with Unifi. So Rev, hit it. Let's go.
Yeah, for sure. So sorry for the weird looking chart here where it looks like it's overextended. It's only because my screens are so bloody wide. I can't get a proper screenshot even if I do reduce it. But what we're seeing here is Neo in April, May to June, mid-June. And we just want to pay attention to its price movements, where it went, where it topped out, where it fell, and then what happened after that. So, and there's a reason for this, right? So we looked at, and I made the first public call along with yourself, Kurt. I think it was at like 19,600 sats or something. So we just call it 20,000 sats. It's closer to that. Yeah. It's just easier to mention that, right? And as we did that, it fell down to like 16,000, 17,000 after that, next couple of days. And then it just went for a moon mission. Now the first significant point it did hit was I think 34, 35,000, 33,000 sat range. Then it fell back down to about 22 and it went for the move to 75,000 sats. Wicked out on that, opened the next candle and then fell to 33,000 sats. So I'm kind of following with my cursor here so you guys understand where we are at that point in that chart. Now, what have we seen with Unifi? Unifi has about 10x less total supply than what Neo did at the time, right? And Circle Lane supply, I think it's 50x less, 50 times less, right?
Yeah,
And
ridiculously low.
yeah, and things to keep in mind, Bitcoin was at like 1,500 at this point, I think, 15 to 2,000 USD
Yeah.
when Neo did this. Bitcoin's currently at, when we first sort of mentioned it, 17,000 and now at 24, 23 range thousand. So the SAT value is obviously, 10x just by looking at Bitcoin plus. But dollar wise for those SAT values. But what we see here is what we're seeing happening very similarly, and we're going to go through it right now. I can show it. If we have a look at Unifi, I'll bring it up on CryptoStat. Let's bring that up a little bit bigger. And we'll go to the daily. Right. So this is when we first looked at it, Kurt. And in this candle here. Right? And it was at like 15, that bottom pretty much is when we looked at it and we were going to call it as a secret token. But we said, you know what, we'll get XVS out. Let's just take it easy on everyone because it's not right. Too much information, too much. So it hit here at 32,004. It topped out in there, in that range, 32,600. It fell back down to 22. And in this candle is when we made the secret token call. Now, if we have a look, it pushed all the way out and it got to 80,000. We all watched that. 80,000 on the dot was the high. And then now we've consolidated, and because of the tokenomics of this thing, it took a while for it to come back down and pull back because of the low Circle Lane supply. And we literally sat, and on the bottom of it was at literally 333,000, 33,000 Satoshi. So very similar pattern that we're seeing on Neo and what happened there, right? Now let's go to the next image. And
just why you're saying that, Rev.
Yeah.
We've talked about this terminology we use, this breathing system, right? It's like they need to breathe, and I think that's what you're about to jump in now, Rev. A lot of people think, there's these, it's going to free fall or something like that. You got to remember, Unifi did 280% in under a week.
Yeah.
You can't just keep going. Yes, there is other tokens right now that are doing this, but there has to be some sort of breathing space, and that's what I believe we're seeing right now.
Definitely. Yeah, 100%. And this is really going to open people's eyes and have a bigger picture, right? Have bigger perspective and have an understanding of what can happen in this space. If you're new to the space, this is what we can expect. If you've been here and you rode this with us and you were part of the journey in 2017,
welcome to memory lane.
Yeah, welcome back, right? And I just want to clarify that the what I just showed you, the image prior to this one, which was this one. Let me get it back. There. This is it.
That's what we just looked at on the other side. On the other picture, that's what you're looking at.
Yeah, this is it. It almost looks like straight candles, right? And then once it consolidated to that 33,000, it picked itself back up, pushed that all-time high, 80,000, and pushed to 500,000 sats plus. And then we had a consolidation back and couldn't go back down to this level. No way after that move because there was so much FOMO going on. There was so much great news on Neo. It was just, it was
the entire crypto space knew about it as well. Like every single person knew what Neo was after that run.
For sure. And it was everywhere. So it fell back down to, I think it's, 170,000 sats. And then once again, picked itself up, couldn't do it, picked itself up, and then once again broke it and reached the ultimate goal of 1.4 million sats. After that, everything is irrelevant. It did fall and then picked back up and hit another high of 1.5 million sats. And then since then, it's just spiraled down to where it is right now and never gone back up there. But Neo had a lot of issues with tokenomics. Obviously, we've gone through a 2-3 year bear market. Now, what we want to show you guys and what we're trying to say here is never have a closed mind perspective of everything. This is a newly listed token. very little supply, circulating supply, and we've seen what happens with those tokens. They go like explosive. Just YFI is a perfect example of that, due to it having a low circulating supply. We're talking a very minimal low circulating supply. It's worth more than BTC in BTC value and dollar value, right? So for one Unifi, you get more than one Bitcoin at the moment, and that's only due to its circulating supply and nothing else. There is nothing. It's just purely supply and demand. But it also has swings crazier, and I think it's been worth like 4 BTC at one stage. Is that correct, Kurt?
And the volume on it was just incredible. And I know a lot of people do overlook volume, and some people discredit volume and order books and all that, and that's fine. Everyone has a different trading style, but we said it last time, keep an eye on the volume. And now you can see the volume has dropped off as well. But if you look at YFI, what's the other one that just went nuts just yesterday, the last couple of days?
GRT?
I mean, the volume on it is just insane, right?
Yeah,
So
it's topped out everything. 12,500 volume. ETH is at 6,200 volume. It's topped out
double the ETH. So like if we see significant volume come pushing into this, I mark my words, you will see fireworks. Definitely. You will see crazy shit going on with this one. Pardon my French.
Yeah, definitely. And you know what? I totally agree. And we can see the MACD on the first drawn line so far happening on a daily is at the bottom. Even though we've had a move up, because it started calculating from this candle, it's at its bottom. And now we're seeing the 25 crossing. Sorry, is that the 25? Yeah, the 25 is going and attacking the 7, right? To cross bullish. So very significant, very important time for Unifi to show us what it's got. And I believe it's got like at least a month to show us what it has, really. And fingers crossed, Bitcoin gives it a chance to actually show us what it actually has. We want to see what it has.
All we need is Bitcoin to just hold and chill out here. Like, if we might see those $100, $200 daily swings or whatever, but we just need Bitcoin to hold. And I think we'll see some action on that.
Yeah.
So
last thing before we finish, Kurt. Sorry for interrupting you there.
No,
you mentioned volume before, right? We could see in these pushes here we had major green volume bars, right? But then we had only little buys and sells in between. And even on the selling pressure, that's little volume when you consider we had that volume versus this volume on the sell from buy to sell, and all it needs is another shot of volume. So that indicates to us more people bought and are happy to buy at this range and are happy to not sell the way down, because they can see the future of this and where it's going to go based on tokenomics, based on whatever the chart is doing. So just wanted to cover that. But yeah,
there you go. Thanks for joining us on a trip in the past. Those were some incredible times that we experienced, both ourselves with trading and obviously with other community members for some of the other groups that we were in at the time. So there's a bit of a recap. So that is episode 17. We have got heaps going on in the Cryptofy community. If you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel, please subscribe. If you're not dialed into the community, please come and join us. And I look forward to seeing you guys at the end of the week. I'm signing off. Take care. Bye.
Take it easy, Kurt. Cheers, guys. Bye.